structure, electron distribution, electron configuration, yan lahat. Covalent bonding, electronegativity, and also bond polarity. All of this are basic information that somehow familiar sa inyo because I have introduced this during our pharmaceutical chemistry, yung sa inorganic chemistry. So, we will have a quick review lang dyan sa mga subtopics na yan. And then we will proceed with the heart of organic chem. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. Okay. Ayan. So, let's begin by answering the following question. What is organic chemistry? Why should we study it? Ano ba yung importance ng organic chemistry? Or may I ask you, what do you think are the classes of compounds being studied under organic chemistry? Or let's say, what is the main element present in the compounds being studied by organic chemistry? Okay, very good. It's carbon. No? Any carbon-containing compounds that is being studied under this science, no? Branch of science. Now, bakit kailangan nating aralin yung organic chemistry? Well, actually, yung answer to these questions, it's what surrounds us, no? Mind you, class, na every living organism, take note, every living organism, it is made up of organic chemicals. Halimbawa, tayo, humans, yung proteins that makes up our hair, our skin, our muscles, those are organic. The DNA, okay, that makes up our genetic material, no? Our blueprint, sobrang purely organic yan. That contains millions, 100 millions ng carbon-containing compounds, no? Ng food, yung food na kinakain natin daily, that is organic. Yung medicine available, no, in the market, no, commercially available, those are mostly organic chemicals. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, if you are curious about life, curious about living organisms, living things, or you wanted to contribute advances sa medicine or sa biological sciences happening, kung gusto ka makig-contribute dira, then ang imong first buhaton is for you to understand first what is organic chemistry. Okay? Dapat aralin mo muna organic chemistry. Okay? That is the basic requirement para malaman mo yung everything that connects about life or living species. Now, I wanted you to look at the following structures. So, as you can see, for now, sobrang complex pa, no? Very complex yung structure. Very unfamiliar sa inyo. Okay? That's normal. Okay? Kasi nasa first year pa man kayo. But actually, itong mga chemical structures na to, these are structures of familiar molecules. Familiar molecules. Are you familiar with paracetamol, di ba? We are all familiar with paracetamol. That is the structure of paracetamol. Okay? These are all organic chemical structures. Mefenamic acid, you know mefenamic acid, halimbawa, Dolphinal yung brand, that is the structure. Yung sugar, no? Combination ng glucose tsaka fructose, no? That is your sucrose, sugar yan. Yung skelan, okay? Nagamot. Yung naproxen sodium, familiar taana, di ba? Naproxen sodium. An anti-inflammatory, organic din yan. So lahat yan, familiar yung name ng molecules. Okay? And as you can see, these are all organic. Amoxicillin, that is antibiotic. No? These are all organic. Okay? So for now, syempre, very complex pa yung structure. You can only understand this or appreciate all these structures if you learn the basic one. You learn the basics about organic chemistry. That is why in pharmaceutical organic chemistry, yan yung aaralin natin, yung foundation muna ng organic chemistry before you understand medicinal organic chemistry, which you will be enrolling that next year, no? Second year man mo, di ba? Mag-second year na mo next school year. So, inyohan ang ma-enroll. All about medicinal. Kani inyohang mga aaralin. Okay? Medicinal organic chemistry. So, before you enroll that, dapat expert or master. Dili gid kailangan expert, but at least you know the knowledge, knowledge about the basic about organic chemistry. So, ano ba yung inaaral natin sa basic organic chemistry? Of course, you have to learn the general properties ng organic compounds. Okay? Kasi pag nalaman mo yung mga general properties ng organic compounds, you can now distinguish its difference from inorg. Diba natapos yun na yung inorg. So kapag you understand already this time the properties of orgchem, you can easily distinguish its difference from inorganic compounds. Okay? Then also we will be learning reactions here, mga chemical reactions that organic compounds undergo. The also the names, no, the nomenclature of organic compounds. Okay, so aaralin natin yan lahat. Okay, but the question here, ano ba talaga yung differences sa behavior ng organic chemicals versus that of inorganic compounds? Now, before, sa mga chemists, sa halos lahat ng chemists, meron silang pinaka-simplest explanation about the difference in the behavior ng organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Ang ilahang simplest explanation is that yung mga organic compounds daw po, they contained that particular property, they contained that peculiar property which is the vital force. Okay? Meron silang tinatawag na mga compounds, organic compounds. Meron silang tinatawag na vital force property. That is actually a result of their origin from living species. Yung property na yan, that is being supported by this theory, the vital force theory. Na ano bang sabi sa vital force theory? Vital force theory, it says na, listen ha, ang mga organic compounds, they are synthesized only within living species. So, yan yung simplest explanation nila, no, ng mga chemists before, na kapag organic, strictly manggagaling lang talaga sa mga living species. Ano ba yung mga living species? Tayo, humans, plants, animals, so anything with life. Kapag organic compounds, dun lang talaga manggagaling. Hindi siya kayang isynthesize, ma-manipulate in the laboratory. Kasi kapag laboratory, synthetic na yan, di ba? Ayan, so yan yung vital force theory. However, later on, no, may mga chemists, okay, particularly may isang chemist who made it possible, no, to convert a particular inorganic compound or sample, which is the ammonium cyanate pala, ammonium cyanate, into an organic compound, okay, which is the urea. So ito yung structure. So wag niyo munang aralin yung mga structure, okay? Okay, for now, introduction lang sa ta. Ato ra ni siyang makover how to draw, no, the structures ng organic compound. So, I repeat, merong isang scientist that made it possible na mag-convert, no, or mag-synthesize ng organic compound from inorganic sample in the laboratory. Okay, so that is in the name of, he is Friedrich Wöhler. Okay, so yung ginawa niya, he tried to heat ammonium cyanate, he tried to apply heat sa ammonium cyanate, and then he observed that nakapagbuo siya ng organic compound, which is the urea. So ibig sabihin, urea is considered the first organic compound synthesized in the laboratory. Okay, kasi siya yung naka-invalidate man, si Friedrich Wöhler, yung discovery niya, na-invalidate niya yung vitalistic theory. Kumbaga, false statement na ngayon yung vitalistic theory. First, organic, sulat ko ha, compound synthesized, okay, in the lab. Okay, so urea. Urea, that is purely organic. We actually excrete urea. Kasama yan sa urine natin. Human urine, if ang human urine, you test that sample, then identify what is the components of our urine. Merong urea, may percentage na urea. So, syempre, since excreted by our body, then that is purely organic. Okay? Kasi what makes up, 'di ba, humans, organic. So, whatever we produce, whatever we excrete, organic yan. Okay? Pero, look at what Mr. Wooler discovered, 'di ba? Kaya niyang mag-discover and kaya niyang mag-convert ng inorganic sample, okay, into an organic urea inside the laboratory. So now, invalidated na itong vitalistic theory. So with his discovery, ayan, wala ng fundamental differences between organic and inorganic compounds. Yung only distinguishing characteristic lang talaga ng lahat ng organic compounds is that they contain carbon elements. So yan lang talaga yung difference or distinguishing character talaga ng mga organic compounds. Kapag yung compound na yan may carbon, okay, organic yan, organic compound. Okay? Sige, let me try to check if you grasp, no, learning from the few slides. Your answer could either be true or false lang, true or false. So I will be stating, okay, a sentence and then true or false lang ha. Sige, if the statement is all organic compounds are always synthesized in the living organism, true or false? Organic compounds are always synthesized within. Okay, very good. It's a false statement already. Okay, false statement. Hindi always na, hindi na strictly always sa living species na synthesize yung organic compound. Okay? Kasi pwede na tayong mag-synthesize ng organic compound in the lab, no? In the laboratory, synthetically. Okay? Invalidated, false na yung vitalistic theory or vital force theory. False statement na yun. Or what about yung statement is, let's say, organic compounds produced by living species are always organic. Compounds produced by living species are organic. Oh, that's true. Okay? True statement na yon, no? Kasi giproduce man sa living species. Okay? Try to pinpoint the difference. May difference sa duha ka statement. 'Di ba? So, second statement, ang sabi, kapag na-produce daw ng living species, organic ba yung compound na yon? Yes. Okay? Yes. That is true. Automatic yun na. Basta living species siya nang galing. Organic yan. Okay? Yun na nga, ang false statement na is kapag sinabing always ang mga organic compounds manggagaling sa living species, no? Kasi pwede na tayong mag-synthesize sa using inorganic, which is non-living, di ba? Yung mga inorganic samples. Okay? So, yan. That is why, yun na nga, when we define organic chemistry, okay, or by definition, we could simply describe organic chemistry as the study of carbon compounds. Okay? And what we usually observe sa mga organic compounds, aside from it contains carbon, naagid na siya, di gid mawala ang hydrogen. Okay? Hydrogen. Okay, if you try to check any structure of organic chemicals, aside from carbon, meron talaga yan kasamang hydrogen. So, carbon, hydrogen, pwede din yan. Okay, yung definition. Okay? Now, yung question ngayon, ano ba yung special about carbon? Okay? Why carbon is so unique? Why carbon is so special? Bakit yung carbon is able to produce millions of compounds, diverse compounds? Okay? Actually, yung sagot dyan is, it's because of the carbon's electronic structure. Okay? It's because of the carbon's property mismo. Okay? Electronic property. Okay? And the rationale behind that property ni carbon, what that makes it so special could be explained by its electronic structure and yung position niya sa periodic table. Naalala ba yung position ni carbon sa periodic table? Sige nga, photographic memory. If you are looking at your periodic table, nasa right or left side siya ng periodic table, ang carbon element. Photographic memory lang. Oh, very good. Nasa right side siya, diba? So if this is the, okay, very good. If this is the periodic table, okay, very good. Nasa right side siya. Okay, non-metal, diba? So yung carbon, yun na nga, one of its property, yung electronic property niya, that could be explained by its iyahang position sa periodic table. If you try to check kung may periodic table kayo dyan, makikita siya sa period 2, di ba? Period 2. And nasa sa gitna ng lithium, let's say period 2 ito. Ayan. Nasa gitna siya ng lithium, beryllium, boron, and then nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. So, andito si carbon sa gitna. Sorry. Ayan. A while. Ito yung carbon. Nandito yung carbon, di ba? Never mind the group 8. Huwag na nating isali sa usapan yung mga group 8 kasi stable na yan sila, di ba? Ay, di na natin sila hilabtan kay stable na yung mga group 8, yung mga noble gases. So, ito lang sila. Lithium until fluorine. So, kung titingnan natin, nasa pinakagitna, no? Middle, yung position ng carbon. Okay? So, nasa gitna siya ng non-metals na nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, metals, metallic na compound, lithium, beryllium, and boron. Before tayo proceed sa kay carbon, let me ask you, kapag ba non-metals, kung sila ay non-metals dito, during chemical combination, ano ba yung fate nila? Do they lose or gain electrons? Kapag non-metals, what they do usually do during chemical combination para maging stable sila? Kapag non-metals, gain or lose electron? It is to gain. Okay? Very good. Gain electrons. O kapag nag-gain ng electronegativity, no? Electrons is negative, no? Negative particles. Kapag nag-gain sila ng electrons during chemical combination, ano yung ion form nila? Cation, anion. Ano yung ion form ng mga non-metals? Cation or anion. Kapag nag-gain ka, nadagdagan ka ng electrons, very good, ion. Nadagdagan ka kasi ng electrons. Electrons are negative. Anion, negatively charged, di ba yung mga anion? If you try to recall ang mga ion forms ng nitrogen, negative charge. Nitrogen, negative. Oxygen, 2 minus, di ba? Fluorine is negative also. No? Ayan. So, ganun din with metals naman, so the opposite. Okay? Kapag metals naman, during chemical combination, they tend to lose electrons, naalala na. And then, kapag nag-lose ng electrons, nawala ng electrons, magiging cations. Okay? For it to be stable, no? Cations. So, which is positive. Okay? Positive cat. Inyo lang na siyang pag sulat nyo sa letter T, parang plus para palatandaan nyo na kapag cations positively charged, nag-lose sila ng electrons kaya naging cation sila. Okay? So, in this case, si carbon nga, balik tayo kay carbon, nasa gitna siya, okay, ng mga metals that tend to lose electrons, then ng mga non-metals that tend to gain electrons during chemical combination, during chemical bonding ba. Now, with regards to carbon, what makes it special here is hindi siya naglo-lose, hindi din siya nag-gain ng electrons. Okay? What carbon element do is that it only share electrons. Okay? It shares electrons. Okay, shares electrons. So it neither loses or gain electron. Iyara gyud siyang willing gyud siya i-share always. Okay? Ang iyahang valence electrons. So let me ask you, kapag valence electrons ang tinatanong, and looking at the arrangement, if this is group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, ilan kaya yung valence electron ni carbon kung nasa group 4A, group 4A element siya? Oh, very good. Meron siyang 4, no, na valence electron. So, during chemical combination, okay, bakit sobrang special ni carbon? Kasi willing siya i-share yung 4 niyang valence electron. Always gina siya. Okay, willing niya i-share. Okay, yung 4 niyang, okay, valence electron. Kaya, it always form 4 covalent bonds. Okay? Kasi shinare niya yung 4, 'di ba? Meron siyang 4, willing niya i-share yung electrons, okay? That will form then 4 covalent bonds, forming 4 covalent bonds. Siyempre, covalent bonds kasi we're talking about sharing of electrons. 'Di ba kapag covalent bonds, naalala? Covalent bonds that is being formed if there is sharing of electrons between non-metals. 'Di ba? Non-metals to non-metals, there is sharing only of electrons. Okay? That is covalent bonds. What about kapag nag-combine yung metals and non-metals? Anong klaseng bond yun? Very good. Ionic bond. Ionic yun kasi ions are being combined. Ions. Cations plus an ion. Sana lang. Okay, so that's one of the property of carbon. That's what makes it special. It shares its 4 valence electron forming 4 covalent bonds. Okay, another property, okay, that makes it special is that meron siyang property na catenation. Naalala yung catenation property of carbon? Catenation means si carbon daw po, kaya niyang mag-form ng very good multiple bonds within itself. No? Multiple bonds within itself. Halimbawa, kaya niyang mag-form ng double bond within itself or triple bond. Okay? Okay? Pwedeng naka-straight chain or cyclic. Okay? So we will be learning that, okay, soon kapag we go along sa ato ang discussion. So that's another special property ng carbon, no? Multiple bonds within itself, catenation. Okay, so that's the reason bakit kayang mag-form ni carbon ng mga diverse compounds mula sa simplest, no, pinaka-simplest nga carbon compound, okay, organic compound, to the most complex. Halimbawa, yung pinaka-simplest, let me erase ha. Tapusin ko lang yung slide na to. Okay, siya erase. Ayan. So, yung simplest carbon compound, you have methane kasi isa lang yung carbon. So, simplest, isa lang yung carbon. That's the simplest carbon compound. Kaya niyang mag-form ng sobrang complex, no, na compounds, diverse compounds. Halimbawa, DNA. If you search about DNA, it actually contains 100 millions of carbon, okay, sa structure ng DNA. Yung pinakita lang din, syempre hindi kayang i-draw, no, yung structure ng DNA na makikita talaga yung 100 millions ng carbon. Ito, pinakita lang yung secondary. This is the secondary structure, okay, of DNA. Naka-double helical structure. Pero what is embedded there are 100 millions of carbon. So, sobrang complex na yan na, structure of organic molecule. Okay, so that makes carbon so unique, so special. Okay? Let us continue. In studying organic chemistry, it is also very important to review some ideas about atoms, bonding, and molecular geometry. So we will have a short review on the following basic topics under chemistry. Let's have the atomic structure first. Recall that atom consists of a dense, positively charged nucleus on its centermost portion, and it is being surrounded at a very large distance by a negatively charged electrons. Alright? So if you try to observe the representation here, as you can see, if that is a representation of an atom of any element, as you can see, the electrons are found on the outside or at a larger distance from its nucleus. And as you can see, inside the nucleus, the reason why it has a dense property, it's because it consists of subatomic particles, namely the protons, which are the positively charged subatomic particles, and of course the neutrons, the one that is electrically neutral. Alright? Now the reason why the nucleus has a positively charged property, as you can see, it's because of the presence of protons. So protons are found in the centermost part of an atom inside the nucleus. Okay. Now, let us also recall, how do we identify the number of protons and also the number of electrons in any atom? Recall that in a neutral atom, meaning to say, an atom has no charges, no positive sign, negative sign. So if that is the case, a neutral atom, always take note that its proton number is equivalent to its number of electrons. Right? Because the amount of positive charge on a proton, that equals to the amount of the negative charge on an electron for a neutral atom. Okay, so for example, the given atom is carbon. Okay, so when we identify the number of electron, then you refer to its number of proton, and recall that the number of proton, that is just equivalent to the atomic number of an element. And you can check on the atomic number of the element on a periodic table of elements. Okay, remember that the elements in the periodic table are being arranged according to atomic number. So as you can check on your periodic table, carbon is the sixth element. Okay, so it has an atomic number of 6, so that is equivalent also to its proton number. So if you are to identify the number of electrons, that is also equivalent to 6. Okay, because as you can see, the carbon is neutral. Wala namang charge, diba, na makikita. Another example, let's have a metal, magnesium, for instance. So if you try to check your periodic table, the atomic number of magnesium is 12. Alright? So its proton number is 12 because, again, proton number is equivalent to the atomic number. Its electron is also equal to 12. Neutral kasi yung given na magnesium metal. Alright? So one last example, let's have oxygen. Oxygen has an atomic number of 8. Okay, so its proton number is equivalent to 8 as well. So for a neutral atom of oxygen, that is also equivalent to 8 yung number of electrons. Alright? Now, what about if the given atom is already a charged atom? So meaning to say, the elemental symbol of an element already has either a positive or a negative charge. So whenever that atom or that element carries positive charge, that means it loses electrons. Whereas if it carries a negative charge, then meaning to say during chemical combination, it gains electrons. Right? Now, of all the elements, among the elements or atoms, those atoms that tend to lose electrons are the metals. Whereas the atoms that gains electrons are the nonmetals. Okay, that is why if you recall the list of ions, the nonmetals are negatively charged ions. The metals tend to form positively charged ions or the cations. Okay? So, sulat nyo dito, cations, anions. So, for a magnesium, since this is a metal, recall that its ion form is Mg2+, so positively charged because it is a metal. No? So, during chemical combination, it loses 2 electrons. So, when you are to identify the number of electrons, it already contains 10 electrons. From 12, it loses 2. It loses 2 electrons, then that's equivalent to 10. Now, with regards to oxygen, since this is a non-metal, so it is expected that during chemical combination, it will tend to gain electrons. That is why its ion form, diba? It has a 2 negative charge. Okay, so if it gains 2 electrons, then it will now have a total of 10 electrons to make it stable during chemical combination. Alright? So, yan yung tandaan nyo kapag metals, during chemical bonding, they tend to lose electrons forming cations. Non-metals, they tend to gain electrons forming anions. Now, going back to this figure, it was mentioned that the nucleus of an atom, it has a dense property. We could say then that most of the mass of an atom is in its nucleus. Whereas, since the electron occupies the outermost part of the atom, then we could say that most of the volume, of the atom is being occupied by the electrons. And among the subatomic particles mentioned, it is the electron that will be our focus, okay, on chemical bonding, because recall that it is the electron that participates chemical bonding, particularly the valence electron.